Hi everyone, this is Mix from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have the full performance review on the Curry 8 Feel Good Flow. To start things off, I did really enjoy my time playing in these, and they do cater very well to the needs of people like Steph Curry, who are very quick on their feet and need to stop on a dime to pull up and shoot. But even if you weren't one of those Steph Curry-like players, or if your playstyle wasn't exactly like that, you'll still probably enjoy these shoes very much. So for the traction on the Curry 8, it is very interesting because it actually has no rubber. Instead, what you have is that flow cushion that acts as both the cushion and the outsole. I was pretty skeptical about this setup just in terms of like dust collection and even durability. However, it did far exceed my expectations. It gripped the court super hard, and sometimes I would actually just trip over myself because it gripped too hard. For those who are asking if these squeak, they don't squeak, but they really stick to the floor super well. So even though it doesn't give you that placebo effect with all of that squeaking, traction on the Curry 8 works really well. The traction was also surprisingly durable. I do have a little bit of wear on my high wear areas like the forefoot, but that is to be expected with any shoe, so these really impressed me in terms of durability. These are definitely not the best option for outdoor use, however you can use these outdoors, and they last pretty much just as long as other shoes on the market today. The only negative I can say about the traction is that when the court is really dusty and it hasn't been re-waxed in ages, then you might need to wipe here and there because the grip just isn't as good on super dusty courts. However, overall for the traction, it is just super good, so I'm gonna have to give the traction on the Curry 8 an A. Then for the cushion, you do have that flow foam that's both the outsole and the midsole, and it is just super lightweight and it's flexible as well. And if I were to just describe it in one word, it would be that it was very smooth. It does absorb a good amount of impact, and I didn't really feel any aches and pains after playing for a long time. And even with that impact protection, you also feel pretty responsive and low to the ground because your foot doesn't really sit this high off the ground. Instead, you pretty much sit within that midsole. The only downside to the cushion is that it's not as comfortable as React or Boost, and is also nowhere near as bouncy as Nike Zoom. However, for a guard like Steph, who's just very quick on his feet and just needs that little bit of comfort, that impact protection, but really needs that low to the ground feel, this is definitely one of the better options. It's also a nice breath of fresh air because Currys have historically had really bad cushion. The cushion was also a breath of fresh air because most Currys had very minimal cushion, and the cushion on the Curry 8 is probably at par or just below the ones we found on the Curry 6. So for the cushion, I'm gonna have to give the Curry 8 a B+. I was quite torn between giving this an A or a B+, but it really just comes down to preference because I am one of those people that like a little bit more bounce back and just a little bit more plushness. The cushion is super good though, and if you are a speedy guard, these are definitely right for you. Then for the materials, the main body of the Curry 8 is this knit, and it does feel super comfortable on foot and is breathable as well. The knit does vary throughout the shoe, and I do appreciate that because it is a little bit more tightly knit here on the edges of the forefoot, here at the midfoot, and in the heel. Then it is a little bit more stretchy and breathable here on the top of the toe, the tongue, and the ankle collar. That definitely is a good way to make it supportive in certain areas while keeping the other areas stretchy and comfortable. You also have these rands on the lateral and medial side that are made of these synthetic materials, and they are pretty thin, but it does make for a good aesthetic piece as well as a support piece. You have some more synthetic leather here on the pull tab at the back and the pull tab here on the tongue. You have some nylon cables that act as the lace loops. You have a little bit of fuse here on the eye stay areas for additional durability. And lastly, you have a plastic external heel counter. The materials are really comfortable underfoot and they're really lightweight as well. And it actually feels a little bit more like a running shoe than a basketball shoe, which is actually a good thing if you want that really lightweight and really airy feel. However, if you were looking for premium materials or something with a little bit more heft to it, this is definitely not the setup that will cater to those needs. So for the materials on the Curry 8, I'm gonna have to give it an A. The only thing that would have made it an A+ in my mind is if they used actual leather on these rands, but they did have their reasons in making it synthetic, so I guess that's just fine. But just for my own personal preference, I would have really liked having some real leather on there, even if it just was pretty thin. Then for the support, the shoe is super lightweight. However, you do feel pretty supported inside the shoe because you do have a pretty substantial plastic midfoot shank that really helps with torsional support, and it is really surprising that given that the shoe is so light, you can't really bend the shoe into awkward positions, but you still have really good flexibility in the forefoot, which is where you really need it. Then the foam on the midsole does come up quite a bit and you sit within the midsole, which really helps in terms of containment when you move side to side. To aid in that as well, you have these synthetic rands here on the lateral and medial side, as well as this plastic heel counter. This is a pretty supportive shoe given that it is so lightweight. Then if you are a guard like Steph Curry, this would definitely be adequate. However, the only concern I have in terms of the support is that while it was okay when I was going at like 80% speed, once I was really cranking it up, I did feel like the materials would stretch out a little too much. So if you're a player that's pretty explosive or one that goes 100 miles an hour all the time like Russell Westbrook, then this might not be supportive enough for you. However, the support would be pretty good for most people, which is why I'm gonna have to give the support on the Curry 8 a B+. Then for fit and lockdown, I did go true to size with the Curry 8 and it fit me perfectly well. That knit upper is pretty stretchy here on the top of your foot and that really helps give you a nice and comfortable one-to-one fit. You also have a pretty standard lacing system with these nylon cables, and though it does do a good job, most of that heavy lifting in terms of the fit comes from the stretchy knit upper. The lockdown on the shoe is also really good. However, the only issue I had is when I would stop really fast front to back because my foot would kind of slide forward in the shoe, which is kind of weird because it fits me pretty much one-to-one. But I think it's because that tongue is so stretchy and it's pretty thin that nothing really keeps my foot from slamming into the front of the shoe. That was quite painful at times and it actually led to parts of my big toe being black. And it's just unfortunate because I really did enjoy the fit. And from a side-to-side perspective, I didn't have any issues, but the lockdown when its front-to-back movements was something that, at least in my opinion, was lacking. So for fit and lockdown, I'm gonna have to give the Curry 8 a B. Then for the aesthetics, I've really been liking how the Curry 8 looks, and it's definitely something that you don't see very often because it actually looks more like a running shoe than a basketball shoe, but that's actually something that kind of makes it more appealing. I do like this colorway, which is the launch colorway, but the other colorways that came after this one are just super fire. I really like the butter ones with that yellow upper. I also like the blue and white ones where Curry scored 62, I think, in them. And I also like those white and gold ones because those are hella clean. And I also am just a sucker for white and gold. But you know, I am pretty happy with my colorway and most of the colorways just look super nice. And in my opinion, at least, it's one of the nicest looking basketball shoes of the year. So for the overall aesthetics, I'm gonna have to give these an A. Then for the price, the Curry 8 retails for 7,995 pesos here in the Philippines or 160 US dollars. It's definitely a little bit higher up in terms of price, and it's pretty much par for the course because Curry is a 2-time MVP, and with those kinds of athletes, most of their shoes are a little bit more pricey, but all things considered, these are cheaper than a pair of Kobe Pro Throws, and definitely way cheaper than a pair of new LeBrons, and you do get really good performance out of these, so for that, I do think it's really worth the money. You have really good traction from an outsole that doesn't have any rubber, you have a nice and smooth cushion setup, which does absorb quite a lot of impact, and a really comfortable upper with some stretchy and breathable knit, all in a very lightweight and supportive package. If you are a big Curry fan, I think this is a must cop because this is probably my second favorite Curry to play in of all time, just behind the Under Armour Curry 2. This is also really good if you are a shifty guard that likes to pull up and shoot. If you come off screens and things like that, then this is pretty much the perfect shoe for you. So there you have it, guys. That was my full performance review on the Curry 8 Feel Good Flow. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I'll also leave a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group in the description box. So please do join because we talk about sneakers a lot, we talk about basketball a lot, and that's where I hold my monthly giveaways. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball PH.